Hey everyone, I'm Laura Godenik. I'm an astrologer and a therapist, and I'm here to give you the astrology for last week, starting December 1st, just to give kind of an insight into what's been going on into December 21st, 2025. And yes, I totally missed last week. I was supposed to do this video a week ago, Sunday, and I just kept forgetting and getting a little bogged down and just navigating a lot. So better late than never. So we did just have Mercury station direct a couple, this was this was on the first or about a week and a half ago. So we're still kind of coming out of this Mercury retrograde. Mercury's been traveling through the part of the sky that it's been retrograded in. So this is the third time that Mercury is passing through these degrees. So whatever you've been reviewing, reflecting, going back over, it is now time that you are maybe moving forward with some of those themes, some of those topics. This will have to do with the part of your chart that contains Sagittarius and Scorpio. So whatever houses those are in your chart for you, those two areas of life have been connected in some way. And there's been something with regards to those areas of life that you have been reviewing over, reflecting upon, maybe going back over and having to do again or take action on. So we're definitely still in that. Let's see, we had last week on the 4th, we had a full moon in Gemini. Full moons are culminations. They are often revealing moments. And so whatever house you have, where you have Gemini on the cusp, there might have been something that came to full light that you became aware of. You had an inner realization or you gained new information about something. And you also have to look at the ruler of the full moon, right? So the ruler of Gemini is Mercury, and Mercury just stationed direct in Scorpio. So there's very much something tied to this full moon in Gemini that we just had that was tied to this Mercury retrograde. So I'll give you an example. So for me in my life, Gemini is my first house of health, the body, my personal identity, and that's where the full moon happened. And Scorpio, where Mercury gestation direct, is my sixth house of health and work and routine, wellness. And I've been navigating some health issues that I had a hunch that something was off in my body. So I got some blood tests taken. And then come the full moon, I find new information about my health, about my body, that is allowing me to take the appropriate steps to move forward and address some of these issues. So that's a very real life example of how this full moon in Gemini and the Mercury retrograde tied together. So, yeah, okay, so there's also, as Mercury's been moving forward in Scorpio, it's been making this really supportive trine to Jupiter as well as to Saturn. This really feels like stabilizing energy, like we are finding solid ground. You might have had a lot of emotions the last couple weeks come up with this grand water trine. Water is an element very much associated with emotion, maybe grief, feelings, just feelings of security, safety, and maybe even forgiveness, generosity, having hard conversations that really get to the root of things. This is the energy that we've been kind of swimming in. And Mercury making the trine to Saturn really brings a lot of stability and kind of like thinking ahead or planning for the future. And then Saturn's trine to Jupiter brings forgiveness, hope, a sense that maybe there's some support somewhere as well. So it's been really, really nice energy. The last couple of days have been a bit intense, however. So Mercury now in Scorpio is opposing Uranus. So Uranus is like this wild card energy. The wild card planet can feel a bit chaotic, all over the place. Mercury represents our mind, how we think, how we communicate. So there's been that going on. And then additionally, Mars in Sagittarius has been approaching a square to Saturn in Pisces, which can also feel like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So let me break this down a bit further. Mercury opposite Uranus can have us feel anxious, all over the place, overwhelmed, like we can't focus, like you have too much going on. It's kind of this scattering sort of energy. Mars in Sagittarius, Mars represents our energy, how we take action, our vitality. And in Sagittarius, Sagittarius is a very hopeful, excitable sign. Mars in Sagittarius has us wanting to do everything, just like, let's go, let's do this, let's go on this adventure. It's a bit scattered. Since Sagittarius is a mutable sign, which is the end of the fall. And then, Saturn is kind of the opposite of Mars. Saturn wants to consolidate. Saturn wants us to prioritize what's most important and pertinent. But Mars in Sagittarius is like, I'm so excited, I want to do everything. And so with this square, it could feel like you have too much going on, there's too many demands, too many tasks, you're just kind of bogged down. Maybe you made too many plans, and really you're having to kind of like prioritize and sift through what is most important and what you can let go of or re-plan for another time. So if you've been feeling that kind of scattered, overwhelmed, all over the place, I have too much on my plate, don't really know what to prioritize energy, you're not alone. It's definitely in the sky, or the sky, I should say, is reflecting this energy. And it's really a good time to take a breath, sit still, maybe do a little bit of like meditation or reflecting on what is most important to you. And even, I like to even recommend kind of like a brain dump, just like writing everything down on a page of like everything, every thought in your head, everything that feels like it's pulling on you. Maybe even making a list of all the things that you have planned, all the things you have to do, your responsibilities, and then kind of making a list of like, what is your greatest priority? So kind of sifting through it and can this be put off for next week? Just prioritizing your list and also thinking about what your long-term goals are and not forgetting about those things. That's really kind of what Saturn wants us to focus on, is the long-term, less immediate needs. Okay, and then Mars will, let's see. Actually, I will say Mars will make a square to Neptune. This will be Sunday the 14th. So kind of like from the 8th to the 14th, we're kind of in this like maybe burnout mode. Like I'm all over the place. I have too many things to do. I have too many things I want to prioritize. And then Mars square Neptune can just feel like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. I just need to rest. It might feel like your energy is lower. There's more depletion. Pay attention to your energy levels. Sometimes Neptune can indicate sickness or illness or like a mysterious, like just kind of like, I'm just exhausted. So when Sunday the 14th or this upcoming week, just pay close attention to your energy. Good time to chill, prioritize rest. Try not to make a lot of plans. You might even notice a desire to want to escape the heaviness of burdens or of responsibilities that just feel really heavy, right? So find healthy ways to escape, find healthy ways to rest. Maybe find some water to be near. Neptune represents the ocean. That can bring a lot of a sense of rest and more vitality. Maybe find a book or a movie, or do something creative. Mars does represent our energy, and Neptune is creativity, but also our dreams and ideals. It might even feel good to make a step or take a step towards something that feels like a dream to you. Be wary of expectations around this time too. Neptune can indicate disappointment. So if things don't work out, it's really not the time for them to work out. And that's okay. So a lot of maybe practicing letting go and acceptance as well. Before we get to that though, before the 14th, we have a couple of other aspects going on. So Neptune stations direct today, on the day I'm recording this on January 10th, at 29 degrees of Pisces. So, whatever we've been exploring or navigating with Neptune in the sign of Pisces for the last, it's been like 10 years or 15 years of Neptune in Pisces. This has been the last little stint of this transit, and then Neptune will go back into Aries for the next 14 years. But we can talk more about that another time. January 11th, so that's tomorrow, Thursday, Mercury in Scorpio. Remember, Mercury is just making this opposition to Uranus right now, that kind of messy, chaotic, overwhelming energy. Mercury's trine to Neptune brings compassion, dreaminess, once again, a desire to escape, good time to read a book, snuggle with a loved one, just find maybe just some creative outlets. And then Mercury heads into Sagittarius tomorrow, which can be a little messy again. Mercury is a planet that wants to sift and sort and break things down into smaller digestible pieces and to organize and understand. And that's why Mercury is actually really strong in the signs of Virgo and Gemini, because, well, Mercury rules those signs. And so Mercury can do its full on mercurial task in those signs of breaking things down into smaller pieces. But when Mercury is in Sagittarius, a sign that wants to think about the big picture, wants to bring all the big concepts together and integrate that into a cohesive whole, Mercury can struggle a little bit in the sign of Sagittarius, meaning that it can feel like a little bit of a retrograde with Mercury and Sag. Mercury and Sag might make us making messy mistakes. Details could be a little fuzzy. There could be some miscommunications or misunderstandings. So always assume the best in people is my rule of thumb. Always assume that they miscommunicated, that they, didn't understand something, that there was a blip somewhere. It helps everyone to have positive assumptions of everyone. So Mercury will be in Sagittarius for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so. So yeah, a little messy, not the best time to be doing your detailed mercurial tasks. Give yourself a lot of grace during this time. Mercury in Sag is also very honest in communication, sometimes to a fault. It's also might be a time where you're thinking about inspiration, what inspires you, philosophy, religion, different ways to conceptualize your beliefs. And we're also, as Mercury moves into Sagittarius, we're also still, once again, in that Mercury retrograde cycle. And so you might even still be tying together details and pieces that you've been integrating the last couple weeks with that Mercury retrograde. Mercury makes a sextile to Pluto on the 13th on Saturday. It's a good day to dig deep into something, to really get lost in the sauce, hyper-focus and research, have deeper conversations. Sunday the 14th, like I already mentioned, Mars makes that square to Neptune. I already mentioned that. And then on the 15th, Mars heads into a really strong position in Capricorn. So this marks a quality or a period of time that has the quality of being able to be focused in our energy. So total vibe shift, total energy shift. On Monday the 15th, Mars in Capricorn is able to get shit done, able to be organized, focused, productive, and that'll be there for at least 6 weeks. So that's going to be really useful for all of us, I think. Tuesday the 16th, we still have the sun in Sagittarius. The sun makes a square to Saturn. The sun represents our vitality, our sense of purpose. Saturn is a bit limiting or says no or not yet, or you need to have your ducks in a row, or you can't ignore this big problem over here. And so it could be a day where you're needing to face up to some realities, needing to make plans for the future, needing to take care of things that you've maybe put off. And so more patience is needed on the 16th. If things don't work out, they're maybe not meant to, or it might just take a little bit more perseverance as well. And so, yeah, it's just a day to do a little bit more extra work. All right, moving right ahead. Let's see. So now this upcoming week. Okay. Friday, the 19th, we have a new moon in Sagittarius. New moons are times to plant seeds. They're times of beginning. They are times to, set intentions. And this is in the part of your chart that contains Sagittarius. So lots happening in this part of our charts, in this part of the sky. This is, remember, right? We just had this Mercury retrograde start in the sign of Sagittarius. We just had this like Mars Saturn square, the Sun square Saturn as well. So a lot happening in this area of life. So new beginnings, thinking about what do you want to see grow. And it's likely that whatever you want to see grow will, because the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter, and Jupiter is very well placed in the sign of Cancer right now, which is a very fertile sign for Jupiter's big plans, big visions to blossom. Saturday the 20th, we have Venus in Sagittarius, making that square to Saturn. So pretty much any planet that passes through Sagittarius right now is making the square to Saturn, and then Neptune, because Saturn and Neptune are immutable signs in Pisces. So, okay, Venus represents pleasure, love, connection, beauty, relationships, money. And Saturn is, once again, the big, like, no, not yet. There's a boundary here. Work harder. You need to get your ducks in a row. It's like a negator. And it's also like but have you thought about this other thing that's like more important, right? So, we've been with Saturn going through Pisces, working on a long-term project that's been really important. And we've come up to our limits with this project. Also, we've tested our boundaries. So a couple things about this Venus square Saturn. First of all, okay, so might be harder to come by a good time because Venus wants to have fun and Saturn's like, no, or not right now, or you have to do X, Y, and Z first. Venus wants to connect and feel connected and loved, and Saturn might be like, no. Saturn could, okay, so for example, like Saturn could be experienced as that like inner critic, like, oh no, you're not good enough, you're not lovable, you're not, no one likes you. So this can manifest literally as like an internal critic. And so, yeah, just being mindful of that. There could be feelings of rejection around this time, not a feeling like you're not good enough, a feeling that people don't like you or like you don't belong. And it's a good just to be aware that this energy is more probable at this time, and to not believe that voice in your head, and maybe even do some like healing work around that voice of like, well, why do you feel that way? What does this remind you of from your past? Have you always felt like you don't belong? Is it really true, right? Asking some of those questions. And also, with Venus square Saturn, maybe you're not feeling very social. Maybe you're not wanting to like go out and have a good time or connect, and you want to focus on other things. You want to focus on more long-term projects or goals, or the things that are really important to you. So those are some other things to consider. Yeah, better to spend your energy elsewhere. I'd say better to spend your energy being productive, to maybe even like if you have a longer term art project or creative collaborative project, good time to get into the nitty gritty, make a plan, do some of that harder work. It's not a lighthearted time. Okay, then on Saturday the 20th, the sun makes a square to Neptune. Once again, Neptune is dreams, vision, ideals, sometimes disappointment, sometimes grief or loss. Our energy might be a little dwindling. The sun once again represents our vitality, and Neptune can be like lower vitality, or just lower energy. Once again, it's a good time to kind of chill, reflect, read a book, turn inwards, rest, be creative, do the Venus Saturn thing of working on like a project that takes a long time. Yeah, another thing about Venus Saturn, it's like Saturn's like, you must put in the work to get this like Venusian experience you're looking for. So for example, I just started taking aerial classes with pole, and I'm curious about silks as well. And that's a very Venusian, well, it's like Venusian and Martian like combination experience, but I'm also a very Martian person. And Saturn's like, oh, you want that experience? You need to go work out. You need to work out. You need to go to classes like twice a week. You need to put in the work to be able to have that experience. So just a good thing to kind of like a good example to think about. Sunday the 21st, sun heads into Capricorn. We're kind of like extra emphasizing that Capricorn house. New season, we're in winter. And we're, our consciousness turns towards that part of our chart, and towards like a time where we're planning ahead. Capricorn is a Saturn ruled sign. It's a winter sign. It's the beginning of winter. It's an earth sign. It's all about being practical, getting your ducks in a row, planning ahead, looking at long-term projects, and focusing on like, how can I accomplish these? What can I do every day to accomplish these long-term projects? So that is the energy for the next couple of weeks. I hope this was useful. I always find astrology so useful to know like how long something's going to last. What's the most appropriate way to use my energy right now and my time? What's not a good way to use my time right now? It helps me let go of expectations. It's like really a guide map or a roadmap of like how to do life. So hope this was useful. Please like, subscribe, comment. I am hoping for this channel to grow once I get my license I'll be a licensed clinical social worker. And once I get all that set up, I'm really hoping to pour more energy into my astrology. And yeah, I just think it's such a useful tool to help people, and want to share it wide and far. So yeah. And I am available for readings if you're interested. Please reach out. You can email me consultation@lauragadenick.com. You can sign up on my website, lauragadenick.com. And I can really show you what season of life you're in, how to best utilize your energy and resources, and also just like how this sort of astrology applies to you more personally. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Take care.